Here at The Rock, Jackson Kennedy, Dima Mixon here. Just got done watching the third day of fall camp. I'll tell you what, the offensive line looks really good. There was a lot of moments where there was beautiful holes opening up for Frank Gore Jr., for Kenyon Clay, for Chandler Pittman, all of these guys, Davis Willis, everybody who is in that running back room. Jackson, I think the question should be asked, will Frank Gore Jr. break the single-season rushing record at Southern Miss?
Well, Frank Gore Jr. was so close to it last year, and, he had such a lights-out last couple of games. We kind of neglect the stats from the beginning of the year. And, the beginning of last year, Southern Miss was still trying to figure things out with offensive linemen. And I've mentioned this on the podcast. Last season for the offensive line was kind of a microcosm of what the offensive line is going to look like this season. Just kind of a progression of Will Hall's tenure. Because, last season they started out, there was a lot of struggle. Ty Keys ended up getting hurt the first game. There was lots of, broken tackles and all this stuff. But by the end of it, this young offensive line core, they matured. They figured out their chemistry, and they set Frank Gore Jr. up for some insane stats. And watching this offensive line, Dima, it's been incredible. These guys are very, very close. Like picking each other up after the snap, picking each other up after everything, talking, hanging out on the sideline, but working hard. And the only thing that kind of keeps me from wanting to say yes is now there's so much depth at the running back room. Kenyon Clay was insane today. So some of the best stuff that I've seen from him his time at Southern Miss. And, Kenyon Clay, if you haven't seen him, you will know his name by the end of this season for sure. Huge muscular dude will make a defensive lineman just walk away because he's so big and just like he's just an intimidating force. So with that depth, and that's not even mentioning Chandler Pittman, Antavius Willis, Dreek Clark, who hasn't been getting a lot of attention, but he is a true bona fide running back out of Memphis. There's so much depth that unless Frank Gore Jr. and unless Will Hall are kind of trying to get to that record, they don't have to if they don't want to. Last year and the year before, Frank Gore Jr. was used at almost every snap. But now they have depth everywhere, so he may get some time to rest. What are your thoughts, Dima?
So the question is, can Frank Gore Jr. break the single-season record, which is set by Edo Smith in 2016? I say yes. I think he could. I think that he, with the offensive line, you're going to run Frank Gore Jr. on the most important downs. He's going to be your number one back. You're going to have Kenyon Clay. You're going to have Antavius Willis. You're going to have Kenyon Drake. But you're going to run Frank Gore Jr. And so are we just saying that he could have a similar season to what Edo Smith had in 2016? Of course. And, of course, that there's more depth in the running back room. But I feel like they're going to be handing it off to Frank Gore Jr. more than these other players. And with the offensive line, in the beginning of the season, they weren't able to run the ball last year in the beginning of the season. It wasn't as easy as it came in the last two games. Was like 30% of Frank Gore Jr.'s yardage with 327 in the Lending Tree Bowl and then 248 or something in the ULM game. So, do I think he could have 2 games where he has 200 yards? Absolutely. So the other games he has to have 105 yards a game? I don't think that's ridiculous. So yes, he can do it. Will he do it? I would say no. And the only reason I would say no is just like Jackson said, they have the depth there at running back where they might be pulling Frank Gore Jr. out of situations where in the past he would have thrown up the ball or just ran right, ran left in those super back options. They don't have to do that this year. They have these receivers. They have an actual quarterback. They can use Frank Gore Jr. as a running back. So can he have a season like Edo Smith did in 2016? Yes. Will he? I don't know. I think he could, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he can. And one thing that I kind of neglected to say at the beginning is Frank Gore Jr. has the ability, 100%. This offensive line, 100% has the ability. I was kind of speaking more on the will, and I still think that he will. I don't think it will be by much because of that depth, but, Frank Gore Jr. is so talented, and Dima and I have seen him at camp. Going from 2 seasons ago to last season, he bulked up a lot. He put on a ton of muscle, and he looked a lot stronger and a lot faster. But, man, this season it looks like he's gotten a little bit bigger, would you say? Like he looks bigger, he looks stronger, and his footwork is just immaculate. Dima and I like to sit by a great friend of the show, Glenn Dyer of GoldenEaglePride.com, and where we sit is where the running backs like to do their footwork drills, and Frank Gore Jr. just looks so tuned in, so locked in, and it's immaculate. So I think he has the ability. The offensive line has the ability. Will he? It will be the question of will he, because we don't know how much he's going to be used with that depth that we see.
And one more thing to add to this, and we'll go to another thing. But what they wanted to do in the past was give Frank Gore Jr. more of the screen action, which they were sort of doing towards the end of the season with Trey Lowe. They're going to do that a lot this year. So I think that's kind of part of the run game. They like to run that as part of the run game, but they're not necessarily going to just snap it back to Frank Gore Jr. and the Wildcat and let him run, because they're not needing to do that. So I think some of his rushing yards can be taken away in those screen game actions. What do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. Do you think Frank Gore Jr. will break the single-season rushing record at USM? We both think it's very possible. We just feel like, which is a good thing, that the depth might come in to his conflict there. So much more on the show, 4th Street Sports Show. If you want to hear more of this, go there, look at it, go check it out, and check out all of our coverage from fall camp here on studentprints.com.